back to the channel, and today a quick review for this, While Darkness Gathers by Philip Chase. Now this book is the fourth book in the Edan saga, I'm assuming it must be now. It was the Edan trilogy, but we have a sequel to the trilogy. And this is a smaller book than those that preceded it. And this is about 300 pages. They were getting longer as the series went on, but this one is definitely has more brevity. I think it come in when I kind of give it a word count of less than 100,000 words. What does that mean? So you can probably read this in a day or two if you're a fast reader, or if you're like me, you want to kind of digest it slowly. I took my time over this book. I read it over the space of about 6-7 days. I read a couple of chapters at a time because I was savouring it. This is a book that can be read at a real pace. The writing style lends itself to a quick reading pace, but also it has a little bit of that style. Now, I don't mean this in a reductive sense in any way. This is a novel that feels like it came from the 90s. I'm talking about a kind of like mid to early 90s, pre-George R.R. Martin fantasy, where it feels very much like a book might do in The Wheel of Time, for instance. Yeah, it's got a kind of sense of classic fantasy, though the writing style, I do believe it is closer to that of modern fantasy. But it deals with a lot of the tropes we've come to love. There's very much a coming of age and self-discovery element. There's very much kind of a band, you know, we're talking about a party getting together and going on an adventure. There's lots of traveling, there's lots of self-discovery. It's the classic fantasy tropes we love. There's a dragon in it. I mean, it's perfect fantasy fare, really. It doesn't diverge too much from those classic tropes, but it delivers them in a really, really refreshing manner. These are classic tropes in a way that you'll be able to enjoy, that are still refreshing. It's not been used in the classic sense. And that brings me to what this book really does really, really well. And maybe not, maybe it didn't hit me quite as hard as the final act in the trilogy did. Return to Edan was, I think, probably in my top 10 modern fantasy books as far as its impact goes, for sure. But it delivered different themes and twists on the same themes of that novel. And it gave you those themes from different angles, different character perspectives, definitely a more female centric perspective, which I certainly appreciated. I think female characters are used and developed and discovered, and they are delved into in a really deep manner. Really deep delves into the kind of the psyche of different ages of female protagonists, and I think that's really refreshing. I think it sounds very modern and it sounds very progressive, but it's actually not delivered in that way. It's very subtle. You would not see it coming. And as much as I think people would want to point at a book by Philip Chase and say, look, he's probably been, you know, influenced by, you know, Stephen Erickson and Blazin and stuff like that. I don't know when this book was being written, but for me, I still feel the Tolkien in this. I still feel a lot of early 90s influence in this, and I really enjoyed that because I think a lot of modern fantasy is becoming one note, and it feels like the same brutally, you know, dire and oppressive atmosphere all the time. And things that happen in this book are very hard to swallow, especially for someone that enjoys the characters and stuff. Don't get me wrong, this will hit you in the feels, but it's delivered in such a refreshing manner. It's almost like a biblical story. It's almost like these are parables. Philip Chase feels like a writer that puts an arm around you and shows you the difficult. He poses the difficult questions, life's difficult questions to you, but guides you along with you, and he brings you along in the story with you. And it feels very much like the writer is there with you. It sounds like really, really high praise, but if you finish the book, you already know what I'm talking about. So yeah, maybe not as hard hitting as the final part of that first trilogy. Maybe it didn't have quite as much time to breathe, though I think it did an amazing job to fit what it did into 300 pages. But still a really, really good book. I think out of the 4 books, might be my second favourite. I give it a 4.3 out of 5. Very highly recommended. Check it out.